It took a year at that time to get from 0 to 50 orders a day. And today you look at me and say, what's 50 orders a day, right?
Hello everyone, my name is Manisha Singh and welcome to the e-commerce guru entrepreneurial success story. And आज हमारे साथ है Arjun Vaidya. Hello sir, welcome to the e-commerce guru entrepreneurial success stories. How are you?
Thank you, Manisha. Excited to be there for the show and excited to share my knowledge, my learnings, and talk about my favorite subject.
Definitely. So my first question is for you is that Dr. Vaidya's has remained India's, pioneering Ayurvedic brand, and you have amplified the legacy by starting from the scratch and making it India's largest Ayurvedic D2C direct-to-customer brand. And we also know that in March 2021, after Dr. Vaidya's was acquired, it was one of the India's first D2C exit. So please walk us through this successful journey of you.
Sure, Manisha. Look, I think I've shared the story of the journey multiple times, but I will share the specific e-commerce part of the journey, right? So I think most people know that my family has been in Ayurveda for 150 years. That's our family background. That's also what my last name means, right? Vaidya means Ayurvedic doctor. So I come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda. I grew up with asthma, juvenile bronchitis, which my grandfather cured me of. And so I felt a responsibility to this science and to this legacy. So in 2016, when my grandfather passed, I took on the family legacy with the view that I wanted to create an Ayurvedic products business that makes our science appealing and accessible to modern consumers. We started with offline, and the famous story of Dr. Vaidya's failing offline, actually putting 10 lakhs of stock in the market and getting 9 lakhs back. That showed me that there had to be another path. And my wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, she used to work in the founding team at Nike. She told me, hey, as an investor, you spend time on e-commerce. I spend time at Nike. This opportunity is lying vacant in Ayurveda. Why don't you go for the online space? And so 2017, November, we started our journey with e-commerce. We started our website then doing 0 orders a day. And we learned e-commerce from scratch. We spoke to every single customer. We learned Shopify. We learned Google advertising, Facebook advertising, and we scaled from there. It took a year at that time to get from 0 to 50 orders a day. And today you look at me and say, what's 50 orders a day, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But at that time, in November 2018, a single branded Ayurvedic website doing 50 orders per day was a big deal at a customer acquisition cost of 30% of average order value. So that was really exciting, right? And I think from there, we said, okay, this is not a component of our imagination. This is a business. It's a really large opportunity. And so we took it on from there. We started scaling the business. Long story short, we raised some money from RP Sanjeev Goenka Group in 2019. We scaled from 50 to 5,000 orders a day, launched 80 products, reached 16,500 pin codes, 2 million plus customers. And we're able to build India's largest Ayurveda brand online. Again, you spoke about the exits. So we were able to also create one of India's first D2C outcomes and exits, which was a big story and exciting story. But I think more than that, we were able to prove that in a category like Ayurveda, there is actually enough demand in consumer engagement and excitement towards this. And I think that eventually inspired a lot of other brands to get into spaces like this and scale in these sort of niche categories. And so I think that was the success story of Dr. Vaidya's, but it also showed that a single brand with a single website can reach 16,500 pin codes, which is 60% of India inside 3 years. Yeah. And that's the power of online. Think about establishing offline distribution in 16,500 pin codes and how long it would take. We reach Muzaffarnagar, Anantnag, Trichy, and Imphal, and places even more remote than that in a very, very short period of time.
That's very nice. So you now lead a venture investing for the Verlinvest in India. And so tell us more about your time at the Verlinvest and what does the future here look like?
Yeah, so look, I think, Manisha, we were able to build this business. We were able to scale this business, eventually monetize or sell this business. And from there, I had a blank slate in life, right? I didn't know what I was doing ahead. And I decided that it was my responsibility to give back to the community of e-commerce founders, D2C founders, help people. And so I started just spending time helping founders pro bono, just giving time to founders for conversations, helping them. Lots of people came to me with the same questions. That led me to make a podcast on D2C, which is now one of the most listened to podcasts in the D2C space. From there, I also decided, hey, I want to uh, find a structured way to teach and give knowledge. And so we started with one of our angel investment portfolio companies, Growth School, a cohort-based course on D2C, which now more than 550 founders have taken. But with that, I also started investing some capital in good founders. And in a year and a half, that's become about 78 companies across spaces. And that led me to meet the folks at Verlinvest. Verlinvest is a single LP evergreen fund structure based out of Belgium, investing in the consumer space. In India, we've backed some of the most iconic brands from Sula, Viba, Epigamia, Purple, Wakefit, Byju's, Heads Up for Tails, and now a Punjab-based beverage brand called Lahori, Jeera Soda. And Verlinvest, given that its single LP evergreen and capital sort of keeps increasing, does more private equity investments, so $15 to $100 million type investments. And Verlinvest wanted to get into early stage or venture investing. And so when I connected with them, the idea was to find an ex-founder to build a new venture business in India. And I thought it was very exciting that a large private equity fund was saying, hey, we want to do early stage investing, but we want to do it with ex-founders. And the idea was to replicate this strategy in India, US, and Europe. And I thought that was unique, and I never heard of it before. So I got to know them. I really enjoyed the conversations, the interactions. And eventually in December last year, we started a new strategy to do early stage investing and venture investing. In this strategy, we do $1 to $5 million investments across the consumer landscape, consumer brands, tech platforms, and enablers. And we've now just rebranded the fund V3 Ventures. So while it's sponsored by Verlinvest, the fund is now called V3 Ventures. And we've done some amazing investments. So we've invested in a company called Cuckoo FM, which is India's largest vernacular podcast platform, now more than 2 million paid subscribers. We invested in a company called Eka Care, started by the founding team of Goa Bibo, building a full stack private consumer health play on the government's ABDM ecosystem. And we have two more exciting deals, which you should hear about in the next few weeks. One in the education space and one in the loyalty space. So some exciting things coming up at the fund as well.
Wow, I think that's really wonderful and awesome. So, as you know that India is booming with the, budding entrepreneurs, and a young entrepreneur such as yourself, like you, is a leading example in today's generation, in today's world. So what career advice would you give to those on their, way to becoming an entrepreneur, who wants to become an entrepreneur? So what advice you want to give to them?
Yeah, look, I think it's a good question. I have three standard pieces of advice I now engage with and give to young people. The first I would say is that, we read a lot about entrepreneurship, about unicorns, about startups. We watch Shark Tank, and we get enamored by this concept of entrepreneurship. And it seems glamorous and exciting when we read about funding rounds in newspapers. The reality is, there is a lot of hard work and struggle that goes into it. And a lot of failure that goes into the success that we finally see as the finished product. A lot of people say, hey, you're so lucky you built this business, you sold it. I was like, the first 2 years that I was getting nothing for the effort I was putting in. We don't talk about that enough. So I think the first piece of advice I'd give is, if you want to be an entrepreneur, be ready to face failure with grit and resilience and rise up from that, right? One of my favorite songs is a song by Chamba Wamba. It's called Tub Thumping. And the chorus in that song is, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never going to keep me down, right? And that's my motto for any good entrepreneur. More than skills, more than talent, more than team, more than scale, it's that ability to fight failure. The second thing I would say is you can't do it alone, right? So as a young founder, I thought I could put 15, 16 hours. I didn't need a team. I was better. I was the best at everything. But the reality is that, honestly, two people, my wife and I, working 15 hours a day, And you can't work efficiently 15 hours a day. So you work efficiently 12 hours a day. Two
Yeah.
people working efficiently 12 hours a day. Um, 2 into 12 is 24, but 8 into 10 or 8 people working for 10 hours a day is 80, right? And so the compounding effect of entrepreneurship, of scale, of a team working together is unparalleled. Right? So second thing I would say is you need to build a empowered, high quality, talented team. And third, right, and sort of very important, especially in the young context, is entrepreneurship is not part time, according to me. You can't be slightly pregnant with entrepreneurship. Either you're in or you're out. If you're in, you have to be 100% in. And look, I have a podcast. That's my hobby. I do it over the weekends. But my business was never my hobby.
Yeah.
And so if you want to do something, you can't do it on the side with your job. You got to be in full time. And it's okay to not be in. There's lots of people who aren't entrepreneurs. But if you're an entrepreneur, you have to be 100% in.
Exactly. So advice which is given by you is wonderful, and I think everyone should follow these advice to become successful entrepreneurs. One thing I would like to know from you, Arjun, is that you are also an active angel investor and also a mentor to brands in India's startup ecosystem. So, how do you recognize the potential of a startups and is investment ready?
Yeah, I think very good question. I would say I look at three things in the early stage. It's 50% on founder. Who is that person? Why will they fight failure? And why do they have a right to win? Right. So that's, I would say, number one. Number two is what's the size of the market? I don't invest in urban niche elite categories and products that I consume at all times, right? So what's the size of that TAM in that market? That's 20% for me. And the last 30% is what's standard, right? Business economics. So revenue growth, sales, gross margin, customer acquisition cost, contribution margin, bottom line profile, who's the team building the business. So just recapping, it would be 50% founder, 20% market size, and 30% business and economics. That's how I would evaluate a business, which means you see me indexing highest on founder because the early stage, I would say, you're investing in a person. The idea may pivot or move or change along the way, but that person will not change.
Yeah, right. Absolutely right. You're fantastic, I guess. So, so basically, we have been following your communication about the teaching and cohort-based course on D2C, basically, and you also shared. So, can you shed some light for our audience on its importance and what's in it for them, basically?
Yeah, look, Manisha, I think I was getting lots of the same questions, right? Should I go on my website first or marketplace? Is Shopify better? WooCommerce? How should I do retention marketing? What's the best way to scale? Is influencer marketing actually worth it? Does performance marketing tap out at some point? All these existential questions about building an e-commerce business were coming to me. And I had to think of a scalable way to be able to answer these questions, right? I can't answer 100 founders on WhatsApp every week and then update them. And so we came up with this cohort-based program, which takes a founder through the entire journey of D2C, from product and brand to website, performance marketing, customer acquisition, marketplace strategy, retention marketing, operations, logistics, supply chain, and eventually team culture and scale. And we tried to pack that in with real-world learnings, content, live speakers, and interaction with 100 people like you or 150 people like you. And we eventually, after lots of work, developed this program, which is now our cohort-based course or program on D2C. And I think it's been very successful. More than 550 founders have taken this. They've learned a lot. But more importantly, they've learned together, right? And so other than engaging with us, all of these founders engage with each other, make good friends, share important parts of the journey, find companions and friends. As a founder, you always have a very lonely feeling, thinking you're the only one going through that problem. But think about a group of 10 people going through the same problems, or 50 or 100 people going through the same problems, and the help and the advice and the camaraderie they can give each other. I think that's the real value in building this community. I won't even say it's a cohort, it's a community of founders.
Yeah, right. That's wonderful. So, as you are sharing your inspiring journey, it's very wonderful to hear from you. I have a one personal question for you is that you were you wear so many hats, which is absolutely very, very inspiring and wonderful. So how do you plan your or schedule and and manage your day? So please tell us.
Yeah, look, Manisha, honestly, I'm not the time management expert here. Lots of people have told me prioritization. I'm a hard worker rather than a smart worker. So I put in more hours than most people. That's how I manage my time in the day. But I think that the way I would split it is in the week, it would be more my professional role as an investor. And on the weekends, I would spend a lot of time on my cohort, on my podcast. I have an exciting new course coming up with Kuku FM, which you'll hear about soon. We're launching a new program on retention marketing, which is the most important or secret source of leadership but not talked about enough. And yeah, I have exciting other updates coming up on the personal front. So that's how I usually try to split my time.
One thing, please tell us about your interest outside of your daily work schedule. Like which book you like the most, which sports you like the most. So please tell us.
Yeah, look, I would say I'm a crazy sports fan. You can see my phone cover has the back of Sachin's
Wow.
jersey on it.
Yeah.
So I think sports, I watch a lot of sports documentaries. I listen to a lot of podcasts on entrepreneurship. So I like Masters of Scale, Reid Hoffman's podcast. I like Business Wars by Wondery, which talks about sort of like wars or competition between Netflix and Blockbuster, Nike and Adidas, L'Oreal and Estee Lauder. So I learned a lot from that. I watch lots of sports documentaries. I pretty much every sports documentary that's available on OTT, I would have watched or planned to watch. Recently, I'm watching FIFA Uncovered, which talks about sort of the scandals and the corruption in FIFA. And I spend a lot of time watching and playing sport as well. So I'm a marathon runner. I play squash, I play football, and I watch all sports. But I'm a crazy cricket and football fan. And so tough luck that India lost against England. But yeah, I think sports gave me a lot of context and perspective on entrepreneurship as well. As founders, you can learn a lot about discipline, a lot about teamwork, and a lot about failure from sportsmen.
Right. So, who is your best author, I guess? So, who inspired you the most? Basically, on authors.
Authors?
Yeah.
I like Seth Godin. My favorite marketing book is Purple Cow by Seth Godin. So definitely Seth Godin is one author that I really enjoy reading.
Oh wow, that's wonderful. So one last question: what has been the biggest challenge for you, and also the inspiration in your journey as a young entrepreneur? So please tell us. And also, I would like to add one golden rule that you live by.
Yeah. So I would say that inspiration for me and for entrepreneurs, it's very important to have a purpose behind what you're doing, because there will be lots of tough times and you got to sort of fight through those. So purpose for me was actually taking forward my grandfather's legacy, and he had passed. So always the back of my mind on tough days, I would be like, he's watching me somewhere and he'll be proud of what I'm doing and I have to do it for him. I think that was the background inspiration, right? And one mantra that I live by: stay hungry, stay foolish.
By?
Stay hungry and stay foolish.
Okay. And what is the behind thing in this line?
Yeah, Steve Jobs said it, right? It's about thinking out of the box and not accepting status quo. Working hard to change the norm. We were the first company to put Chyawanprash in a toffee. When I told people I'm putting Chyawanprash in a toffee, they said there's no chance you can do that. But we were able to do it. So.
Yeah, right. So one last question. What would you like to advise to all the people, who is watching you?
Yeah, look, I think there is no better time to start up than now. It's one of the most exciting times in the Indian startup ecosystem. So yeah, just make it happen, go for it, and keep building. We have so much ahead of us.
Yeah, true. So thank you so much, Arjun, for joining us today. It's really like wonderful talking with you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Bye.